Okay, you all.
Yes.
On this Chit Chat Snackable, we sit down and talk to two amazing men.
That's right.
Now, let me tell you about them.
Tell them.
One is a politician, attorney serving in the United States Senate, and his co-host is a conservative political commentator and author. Please welcome to the show Senator Ted Cruz and his co-host Michael Knowles. Gentlemen, welcome. Yes. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so let's start off with Senator Ted Cruz. The podcast called Verdict. The new podcast called Verdict with Ted Cruz. Listen, tell us a little bit about this podcast.
Well, absolutely. So Michael and I launched it back in January. We did it right in the middle of impeachment. In fact, we started the first night of impeachment. And what we would do every night is obviously I'd be in the Senate, in the Senate trial. The Senate trial would end at midnight or 1 a.m. And we'd go jump in a truck, we'd head over to the studio, and we'd record it live that night. We did it every night, just 2 a.m. whenever we got out of the trial. And I'd talk about the factual issues, you know, what's Ukraine, what's Burisma, who's Hunter Biden. I'd talk about the legal issues, the constitutional issues, what's the standard for impeachment, and really tried to help people understand what was going on. And I think just as importantly, what was happening behind the scenes, what was being said in the Senate cloakroom, whose votes were in sway. And so we started doing it every night. And an amazing thing happened. We went from non-existing to skyrocketing the charts, and we ended up the #1 podcast in the world in just a couple of weeks.
That's right. I might not have predicted. I got to tell you, obviously, I've got a lot of admiration for Senator Cruz, but I thought the impeachment, it's kind of a dry, boring thing. You know, these Senate proceedings, kind of a dry, boring thing. Senator Cruz, excellent politician, but he's not exactly Joe Rogan on the podcasts, and yet he jumps to #1 on the charts. So I think it was a testament to how much the American people were interested in hearing about what's going on in their government. They just didn't want it dumbed down. They didn't want it in these kind of 5-minute talking points. They wanted to go a little bit deeper into the substance.
So, Michael, you are the co-host of the show as well.
That's right.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And one more thing, you know, with what you are doing, a lot of people wanted the truth.
Right.
And we weren't getting the truth out here. Yep. What we were getting was what we were seeing from the media. So we needed this right here.
Right. Okay, so let's jump into it because so many things is jumping off in our country.
Yeah.
So the other day, Joe Biden, he has this new slogan called "Bring Back Better." Bring back better. Now we know that Joe Biden has been in government for over 47 years. That's close to half a century. And he haven't done anything to bring back anything better or make anything better, in our opinion. And why would we want to make something better when we've already had the best under President Donald J. Trump? So give us your verdict or your take on his new slogan, "Bring Back Better."
Well, look, I think his slogan is close, but it's not quite there. I think the next version, the more honest version they're going to come up with is bringing your basement back better. Yeah. Because Joe Biden is hiding in his basement, and he may have a point. He may have a really good basement by now because he doesn't have anything to do except fix it up.
That's right.
But look, the Democrats, they don't want people looking at Joe Biden. They don't want them listening to Joe Biden. They certainly don't want them thinking about the crazy policies. Joe Biden keeps agreeing with the lunatic left, and they keep getting nuttier and nuttier and nuttier. And so their whole approach to this election is hide Joe Biden in the basement. And they hope that the race is an election on Donald Trump, and there are certainly some people who love Donald Trump and some people who hate Donald Trump, and that's how the Democrats want the election decided.
Wow. You're absolutely right. Michael, Mr. Knowles, what is your thought about defunding the police? You know, now in our country, we have these left-leaning liberals, and they become so radical. Now they want our whole United States of America to be radical and in chaos and confusion.
Yep.
And so
I got to tell you, at a time when everyone on the left is telling me that I cannot have my Second Amendment rights, a gun to protect myself, that is probably the worst time to defund the police, because then there's absolutely nothing but for the criminals to run roughshod over our country. There was an amazing story that came out of New York over the weekend. The crime has spiked. It has gone crazy in Bill de Blasio's New York. And there was a one-year-old baby, a black baby, because Black Lives Matter, one-year-old baby was killed by violence, not by police brutality, but by the violent criminals in the streets. And I think it's such a sad story, and it highlights exactly what's going to happen if you defund the police in disproportionately black communities, all in the name of Black Lives Matter. Is black lives are going to be lost because of it. It's outrageous. It's based on this lie that there are all of these terrible cops that are racist and bigoted and slaughtering people around the country. Are there bad cops? Of course there are bad cops, but the vast, overwhelming majority, the huge number of cops are good people who are protecting our country from criminals. And I think that a radical ideological movement has exploited racial issues and other issues here, and it's making all of us less safe.
So it sounds like the verdict is to defend the police.
That's defend. That's the better way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you need to take lessons on sort of pithy, because you
great.
had lots of words and
Just like too many.
Just shut up and say defend the police. All right,
Absolutely. That's the verdict. I like it.
I love it. I love it. Senator Ted Cruz, we're living in this time now where we're facing a pandemic. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Governors do not want to reopen some states because of the numbers. And we think that, in our humble opinion, and what we're seeing with reports coming out, that some of the numbers are being inflated. It's like the governors it's like tyranny. It's like citizens are living under tyranny up under these governors because it's an overreach to us. It's an abuse of power. So you being a senator, why isn't anybody speaking out? Why is it that the American people are feeling like we're not being protected by Congress, by our Senate? Why isn't anybody speaking out about this here?
Well, listen, I agree with you. What we're seeing governors doing, what we're seeing politicians doing across the country, what we're seeing the media doing is nuts. It doesn't make any sense, and it's an abuse of power. And throughout this pandemic, I've been calling out governors, I've been calling out mayors for abusing their power, for behaving like tyrants, for stripping away our freedom. Whether you go to the dad in Colorado who was playing softball with his 6-year-old daughter and got in trouble with that. He wasn't bothering anyone. He wasn't arresting anyone. Or the woman in Pennsylvania who was driving her car all alone and got a ticket for it. There was no public health threat to driving her car. Or the churches in Kentucky and Mississippi where people drove up in their cars. They listened to the pastor over the radio like a drive-in church. And they sent law enforcement there to write them all tickets and cite them for it. Or right here in California, Michael and I are right now in L.A., where the knucklehead governor issued an order. Number one, shut the whole state down again.
Right.
But number two, showing the real the real hostility that the hard left has towards faith, towards the church, towards God. He put out a special order. He said, no singing in church. Who the hell is Gavin Newsom to try to ban singing in church? You don't have the power to do that. That is the First Amendment protects religious liberty. And I'll tell you, the reason they're doing this, none of it is complicated. It's all 100% politics. They hate Donald Trump. They want to beat Donald Trump in November, and they think if they shut everything down, if everybody loses their jobs, if everybody's broke, if everyone's poor, if everyone's at home, if everyone's miserable, if all the kids are at school because they don't let the kids go back to school, so you got people out of work with no money, with their kids screaming, with their kids not learning, and what they hope is people will be really mad and vote against Trump. And I'll tell you, if that happens, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Trump's going to win. I think, but God forbid if we wake up the day after Election Day and Biden has won, magically all these problems will go away. Magically, Gavin Newsom, all these other politicians will come back and say, you know what? Now you can go back to work. You know what? Now the kids can go back to school. And they're playing games with people's lives. And it's disgusting and it's political and it's wrong.
And their livelihoods. You know, we was told
Yes.
to go in to flatten the curve, but they're flattening a lot of people's livelihoods. A lot of people can't pay their bills. They can't feed their children. And here it is. My deal is, if some things are open because they're called essential businesses, I believe all businesses are essential. I mean, we've had plenty of pandemics, plenty of viruses, plenty of germs and bacteria that we all have had, and our body was cleverly created by God with an immune system to be able to fight off a lot of this stuff. So when I see that a lot of these governors are saying now all of a sudden they want to mandate the mask, for people to wear masks, and say, okay, this is going to stop this is going to stop that. But 2 or 3 months ago, it wasn't mandatory. It wasn't going to stop anything. It wasn't going to do anything. So what's up with all of this flip-flopping back and forth? And one more thing, you know, with our body being created to inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, if you keep recycling and rebreathing your own breath, and God forbid if it's a funky breath, you know, aren't you doing something detrimental to your own body?
Look, you're exactly right that the answers we've heard from the public health officials, from politicians, they flip-flop, it seems, every 10 minutes. And so 1 minute, you've got the CDC up there saying, don't wear masks, masks are terrible, masks are bad for you. The next minute, they're saying you got to wear a mask at all times, no matter what. And it just, you know, we saw this when people were standing up and protesting the lockdowns. You saw these public health officials in you know, white lab coats going on TV saying, well, if you go to an anti-lockdown protest, it's going to kill you. In fact, it's going to kill everybody. Yeah, they are murdering people. Right. They're murdering grandma is what they said.
Yeah.
And then magically, when you had protests that became riots all across the country, those same white-coated doctors went on TV and said, well, you know, that protesting doesn't matter. Apparently, this virus is a very woke virus.
I think that's the only explanation.
Like, it depends what you're protesting for. And, you know, here in California, if you're screaming, abolish the police, apparently you don't need a mask because the virus, I guess, agrees with you.
It doesn't spread that way. It just sort of goes straight up into the sky.
But if you go to church and sing Amazing Grace, well, you know, look, the virus started in communist China, so maybe it just doesn't like people singing gospel.
Right.
But see, if you're in church, why can't we be protesting the devil?
Yeah.
I like that. That's you're exactly right.
That's right.
Okay, so guys, this here election is really socialism versus capitalism, communism versus freedoms. How do we get people, because now we have a generation of young people that really believe that the statues should be taken down because they are racist and they promoted slavery and our whole country should be destroyed. Everything that's right is now wrong and everything that's wrong is now right. How do we get people to see that what they're doing is destroying their own existence when you take and you destroy our history and destroy where our country come from and where it's been? How do we get these people to see the light?
Well, listen, you're absolutely right. What started as peaceful protests against the horrific killing of George Floyd quickly got taken over by violent rioters, by people who were committing assaults on fellow Americans, by people who were firebombing police cars, by people who were looting and destroying small businesses, many small businesses owned by African Americans that they were happy to destroy, by criminals who were murdering police officers. And you know, you asked about the destroying of statues. You know, this started out theoretically with being a debate about Confederate statutes, about whether the Confederate generals, whether those statutes should remain, but it very quickly shifted. It shifted from Confederate statues to George Washington, to Thomas Jefferson, to James Madison. You had vandals attacking and trying to tear down Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant, who, needless to say, were not Confederates. They beat the Confederacy, led the Union Army. Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation ending slavery. Grant defeated the Confederacy as the commanding general and then crushed the KKK. And it really got true absurdity when a statue of Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, African-American, hero, was defaced, at this point, the mobs that are attacking these statues, it's not about slavery, it's not about racism.
Right.
They hate America, and they're just tearing everything down with America. It's extreme, it's angry. In many cases, it's ignorant. They don't even know who they're tearing down. and your question was, what do we do about it? And let me tell you, Diamond Silk, what y'all are doing right now, you're doing it. We got to get around the mainstream media. We got to get straight to people. It's the reason Michael and I have the Verdict podcast, because you can download the podcast and CNN doesn't get to decide if you see it. You can get it straight on your phone. You can get it straight on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you do your podcast. And it is so, so valuable. The media hates Donald Trump. And they're not telling people the truth, which means you guys and we and all of us together, we got to go around the media and we got to tell the truth.
And we've got to get into the heart of these issues, because you bring up this point of socialism. This is a debate over socialism here. I think a lot of people, they look at Joe Biden, they say, oh, Joe Biden, he's a moderate. Don't worry about socialism. First of all, on the campaign trail just the other day, Joe Biden actually quoted Mao Zedong. I don't think he knew he was doing it, but one of his staffers who wrote that line sure did. Angela Davis, an avowed communist, said, we've got to elect Joe Biden because Joe Biden, we can just push him around. We can have him do whatever we want. And I think the radical left that has come up, that has taken so much power in the Democratic Party, they're calling the shots now, regardless of who the nominee is. And we hear this every election. We hear, this is the most important election in our lifetime. And then there's always another election. But I think as we look around, we see open calls for socialism and communism. Our George Washington and our Abraham Lincoln and all our founding fathers and our great Americans falling down, our nation on fire in many places. It's hard to imagine how the stakes could be higher.
Wow. Interesting.
And having conversations like this is what you do on the podcast. And here's a little snippet of what to look forward to.
Take a look.
We're sitting here right now. It is 2:42 in the morning.
You've come here straight from the Hill.
Senator Ted Cruz has a nightly podcast called Verdict.
Can you just take us through this process a little bit?
Those rules are designed so you don't have senators screaming at each other. The House has a lot of that. I still remember when they pulled up porn on the screen, Justice O'Connor just went, oh my. You're saying Ukraine and not Russia. That logical construct, X and not Y, they're engaging in lawyerly sleight of hand. The U.S. government was funding the Chinese research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Senate acquitted President Trump about 4:30 in the afternoon.
That's right.
They're not done. This is Release the Hounds. What in the hell? Are you friggin' nuts?
Yeah.
You guys are not friggin' overlords. Get off your power trip.
It still doesn't matter if there is a quid pro quo.
Okay, you showed off your Latin in the early episodes.
There's been a real cynicism in this whole issue of the protests. Just a week ago, we were told if you go outside to do anything, you're killing grandma, you're endangering people because of the coronavirus. And then this week, we're told everybody should go out to protest.
The world's #1 podcast.
And #1 in news.
We passed Joe Rogan. We rose to #1.
We are beating the New York Times.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
The #1 podcast in the entire country. What is a podcast?
Wow. If you want to see more good stuff like this on the podcast, tell everybody where they can go and download it at.
You can get the podcast at verdictpodcast.com. You can head over there, subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you leave a 5-star review, that'd be great. If you want to leave less than a 5-star review, maybe just forget I said anything. You can ring the bell and subscribe on YouTube. We really try to go to where the audience is. We don't want gatekeepers to cut off the message. So wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there at Verdict with Ted Cruz.
Well, and one of the things we do a lot on the podcast also, we bring in guests and we interview them. And I give an example. A couple of weeks ago, we had Bill Barr, the Attorney General.
Yes.
Now you can see Bill Barr on a media interview, and it's usually pretty short. It's usually 5-6 minutes. And you've got some angry left-wing reporters attacking him. And you know, Bill is a very good lawyer. He's very straight-laced, so he gives very calm, controlled answers. Now, in the podcast, so Bill Barr and I, we've been friends 25 years. I've known him a long time. And we sat down with him for a half hour, and I wasn't playing gotcha games. It's not like I'm trying to trap him, but we had a real and a serious conversation about defunding the police and why that would result in more crimes, more rapes, more murders, more black lives being lost, more Hispanic lives being lost, more people losing their lives. We talked about terrorism and vandalism and tearing down the monuments. But it's interesting. So the comments we get on the podcast, the most frequent comment we get is people say, you know what, I actually learned something. I learned something I didn't know. And that's encouraging. But the Barr one was interesting because a bunch of people said, wow, Barr's really funny. and he's got this dry, biting sense of humor that you don't get in a media interview. Yeah. But you guys will like this. My favorite exchange, I was talking about how Barr has been able to stand up and take on the deep state despite the media coming after him really hard. Right. And I said, Bill, you are the honey badger. And to be honest, look, Bill is of a certain age that I didn't really think Bill would understand or get what I was talking about. And he knew exactly what the honey badger was. And, honey badger don't care. And it was strong, and it was pretty funny.
And that's another reason why, Diamond and Silk, we love doing interviews and like this here, because a lot of times in the media, you only get but 2 or 3 minutes, and sometimes you're cut off. But here we get to actually have an intimate conversation where we can go a lot deeper within the different issues that's going on. And then people can begin to say, oh, I didn't know that about that person, or I just learned something today about that. Right. So we have to continue to take our message directly to the people.
That's right.
And that's what.
And let me say something quickly on that, which is I want to thank the two of you. Your voices are important. Yep. The media, y'all are not supposed to exist. You are strong, passionate black women who aren't afraid and who believe in freedom. And the media, they want to erase you. They want to deny that you exist because they're trying to tell a story. Mm-hmm. And in their story, the only thing you're allowed to believe, and you look, I'm Cuban American, the only thing I'm allowed to believe as an Hispanic is we're told we've got to hate Trump and want to abolish the police and tear down America and hate America. And that is garbage and a lie. Your voices are so important. So I just want to encourage you and thank you because the media wants to shut you up, and that's not going to happen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. Thank you so much for that. And I thank you for your voice and for Michael Knowles' voice and what you all do in the Senate and making sure that our constitutional rights are protected. And protecting our republic and our democracy. So thank you all so very much. You all, and listen, the podcast is Verdict with Ted Cruz, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you can get a podcast.
That's right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. God bless.
God bless you. Okay, you all. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Verdict with Ted Cruz. It's a podcast, you all, and you can find it on all of your podcast platforms.
That's right.
I absolutely love having conversations like this, and even conversations with the senator, with Michael Knowles, about the state of our country.
That's right.
Great conversation.
Great conversation.
All right. In the meantime, we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, I'm ashamed that I voted for the '94 crime bill. You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Mass incarceration has put hundreds of thousands behind bars for minor offenses. Joe Biden wrote those laws.
Every major crime bill that's come out of this Congress has had the name Joe Biden on that bill.
We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
Joe Biden's policies destroyed millions of black lives. Joe Biden may not remember, but we do.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Take a look at my record, man.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement and kept telling the story anyway.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea.
That's not what the word marching means.
Twitter. I was not out marching.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
And you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
We're red, white, and blue.
That's right. He can run, but he won't be able to hide his record. He can run, but he won't be able to hide his record. But he won't be able to hide his record.
We're red, white, and blue.
That's right. We're American.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Come on in.
Come on.
Come on a little closer.
Come on.
Because we got something to tell you.
That's right.
Now, y'all know we just finished the last chapter of our book called Uprising.
That's right.
Which is due out on August the 18th. Go to diamondandsilkbook.com to pre-order right now.
That's right.
But wait.
Wait.
There's more. Now, we already know that old Jim Crow Joe said we ain't black. But the last time we checked, we black.
That's right.
And you know what?
What?
We have a message for old Jim Crow Joe. Just because we're black, it don't mean we have to vote Democrat.
That's right.
Maybe we can teach old Jim Crow Joe a thing or two. So in this book, we write about our truth.
Our truth.
And in case you forgot, let me remind you again.
Yeah.
The name of the book is Uprising. Who in the hell says you can't ditch and switch?
That's right.
So we done already woke up America. Maybe it's time to wake up Jim Crow Joe and these Democrats.
Maybe.
Maybe it's time for you all to experience the awakening of Diamond and Silk.
Maybe.
So now you don't get to judge us based on what somebody said about us. Now you can read it for yourself.
That's right.
So pre-order the book at diamondandsilkbook.com. That's diamondandsilkbook.com.